This is so much fun. Did you stop that one? We're starting again?
Is he ready?
Yeah,
Yep.
he's ready.
Yes.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, my friends. God's blessings upon you. Let's praise the Lord together, my friends. We have all awakened in God's shelter. Now we've come to praise His name together. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning,
Good morning.
my friends.
My friend.
Sing Hosanna,
Hosanna.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Allah pa Yahweh, Allah pa. In the sanctuary of our Lord's protection and the stronghold of our Lord's defense. With His love, our spirits are illumined as we glorify His name. Our hearts are blessed. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, my friend.
My friend.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning.
my friends. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I got cord
Good
problems here. I
morning.
was, I was trying to work with the cord getting all in the way there. But good morning, everyone. Hello, everyone. They're in the Zoom. Good morning, Vicky and Samuel. Good morning. And good morning, Jeremiah. And good morning, everyone out there in Facebook land. And good morning, Nini. How are you? You're doing well? Nini's here with us today.
Good
We have the amazing,
morning.
phenomenal, fantastic Nini Ha here. And with any luck, she's going to be here a whole lot
Excellent.
in the future. Yes. I say with any luck because I mess stuff up. No. How you doing, Daryl?
I'm good. How are you?
You good? I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here after last week's little hiatus we had. And so it's good to be back. And as always, let's begin today with a prayer. O thou compassionate Lord, thou who art generous and able, We are servants of thine, sheltered beneath thy providence. Cast thy glance of favor upon us. Give light to our ears. Give light to our eyes, hearing to our ears, and understanding and love to our hearts. Render our souls joyous and happy through thy glad tidings. O Lord, point out to us the pathway of thy kingdom and resuscitate all of us through the breaths of the Holy Spirit. Bestow upon us life everlasting and confer upon us never-ending honor. Unify mankind and illumine the world of humanity. May we all follow thy pathway, long for thy good pleasure, and seek the mysteries of thy kingdom. O God, unite us and connect our hearts with thy indissoluble bond. Verily, thou art the giver, thou art the kind one, and thou art the Almighty. And this is a prayer by Abdul Baha. And we've actually read that. I know I've read that prayer quite a few times. I'll admit it's one of my favorites. It's kind of my, you notice how after you say certain prayers, I don't know about you, but if it's in a prayer book that I use a lot, I kind of just turn to it. Maybe it's because I've got the little marker there. That might be it, but I do love that prayer. It covers a lot. Well, as you know, if you've been with us, we've been working with the book Toward Oneness. And we are going to continue working with that book. We're coming near to the end of it, but I don't know, I'd say we probably still got about 3 more weeks on this with the, probably about like that. Again, it's about, it's Toward Oneness, a compilation on racial and cultural issues. And we have been talking about how to deal and reading about how to deal with the problem of prejudice, how to deal with the problem of prejudice. And we are in chapter 5 of the book, which is the final chapter of the book. And the name of that chapter is How to Eliminate Racial Prejudice. How to eliminate racial prejudice. And yes, we Baha'is believe that there are certainly answers in the writings and guidance of the Baha'i faith. And with all that being said, Daryl, would you like to give us a go and get us started?
Sure. We were in chapter 5, as Tony said.
Mm-hmm. Before you start, good morning,
is,
Gilbert. Good morning, Hushan. Wanted to say that.
So the book's approach to answering what to do about racial prejudice is to ask several questions. And the next question that we're going to cover is in a section called Will Expansion of the Faith Help Achieve Racial Unity and Eliminate Prejudice? The Baha'is should by all means endeavor to attract to the faith as many members of the colored race as they possibly can, and thus demonstrate in deeds the universality of the message of Baha'u'llah. It is only through this intermingling of races within the framework of his world order that a lasting and just solution can be found to the perplexing racial issues confronting mankind. Are you going to stop me?
I want to, but I said it's a little early, but yeah, I do. That question, I want to start with the question first. Will expansion of the faith, meaning the Baha'i faith, will expansion of the faith help achieve racial unity and eliminate prejudice? And the answer, based on what you already read, is yeah. There's that reference to the colored race, what was considered the respectful term in reference to Black people in that day. Endeavor to attract to the faith as many members of the colored race, as many members as they possibly can, and thus demonstrate in deeds the universality of the message of Baha'u'llah. So here you have Shoghi Effendi specifically saying these people that many people view as inferior, right, or outcasts, those are the people you want to attract. And if you take the racial issue out of it, that's not an uncommon approach by a manifestation of God to, yes, spreading the faith and spreading whatever that faith may have been. And we look at all of these world faiths as all of these major faiths as part of one faith. But yeah, it is that again, that approach of these people that are the downtrodden, the rejected. Those are the people you want. And in relation to this specific problem, this specific issue of prejudice, you want the people that very likely have experienced it in the most palpable way.
Of course.
I know you're sorry I asked, but there you go.
The Guardian was happy to see that so many of those in attendance were Negroes, and that the subject of discussion was eliminating race prejudice and attracting more Negroes. The real means of eliminating race prejudice is to spread and establish the faith, for in it there is no prejudice whatsoever, as the faith itself holds as its cardinal principle the oneness of humanity. The faith
Yes.
itself holds as its cardinal principle the oneness of humanity. He was also very pleased to hear about the Negro element in the cause, and he hopes that the Baha'i assemblies and committees will utilize this new talent to the full. Perhaps great suffering for America could be averted if the cause were not only more widely and quickly spread, but the solidarity of races within its ranks more conspicuously demonstrated. He deeply appreciates your services in this important field of Baha'i activity, racial unity.
I got a question I do want to ask. What do you say to people who say, well, yeah, well, on the civil rights movement, I don't know how involved the Baha'is were at that time, but what we saw were, mainly Christian ministers and so forth. If there were people of, some faith background, they were generally coming from Christianity. And I know I'm putting you on the spot here, and I don't know why I'm using that voice, but it seems like that's the right voice. But yeah, why the Baha'i faith? Well, didn't we already try religious approaches?
Well, the reason why the Baha'i faith is because the faith itself holds as its cardinal principle
The
oneness of
humanity. Yeah.
oneness of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the Baha'i faith, if you go and look historically at the civil rights movement, the Baha'is have always been involved.
And that's a lot. Well, yeah.
Even to this day, there would not be in a lot of cities, there would not be MLK celebrations without the participation of Baha'is, because
very
it's
true.
very often the Baha'is that drive those celebrations of the life of Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad you pointed that out. Thank you.
so we're still involved in that process.
Yeah.
The next question is, what is the relationship of resolving issues of racial prejudice to the spread of the faith? In their relations amongst themselves as fellow believers, let them not be content with the mere exchange of cold and empty formalities, often connected with the organizing of banquets, receptions, consultative assemblies, and lecture halls.
I'm going to stop you right there, Daryl. I only want to get people's attention because what he is about to read is I always say it's always important, it's always profound, but to me, this really is something that we need to hear and work to apply in our own personal lives. And that's why I want to stop and say, y'all really need to listen to this. Please go ahead.
Let them rather, as equal co-shares in the spiritual benefits conferred upon them by Baha'u'llah, arise and with the aid and counsel of their local and national representatives, supplement these official functions with those opportunities which only a close and intimate social intercourse can adequately provide. In their homes, in their hours of relaxation and leisure, in the daily contact of business transactions, in association of their children, whether in their study classes, their playgrounds, and clubrooms. In short, under all possible circumstances, however insignificant they appear, the community of the followers of Baha'u'llah should satisfy themselves that in the community of the followers of Baha'u'llah should satisfy themselves that in the eyes of the world at large and in the sight of their vigilant master, they are the living witnesses of those truths which he fondly cherished and tirelessly championed to the very end of his days. If we relax in our purpose, if we falter in our faith, if we neglect the varied opportunities given us from time to time by an all-wise and gracious master, we are not merely falling in what is our most vital and conspicuous obligation. Let me back up. If we relax in our purpose, if we falter in our faith, if we neglect the varied opportunities given us from time to time by an all-wise and gracious master, we are not merely failing in what is our most and vital and conspicuous obligation, but are thereby insensibly retarding the flow of those quickening energies which can alone ensure the vigorous and speedy development of God's struggling faith.
Whoa. I read this passage earlier. And for some reason, those last three words, God's struggling faith, did not jump out at me the way it just jumped out at me. Like, even then, at the time of this writing, the Baha'i faith was struggling to be established. But when I look at, I was going to stop anyway because I wanted to really bring attention to this earlier portion where it really points out that, it seems to me the Shoghi Effendi here seems to be saying, join your organizations, go to the banquets, go to the receptions, hear the speeches, yes. Serve on the assemblies and go to the lecture halls. But you also need to be applying the principle of the oneness of humanity and working towards that in your personal everyday life. In your personal everyday life. Look at this. Supplement these official functions with those opportunities which only a close and intimate social intercourse can adequately provide. In their homes, in their hours of relaxation and leisure, in the daily contact of business transactions, in the association of their children, whether in their study classes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Under all possible circumstances, however insignificant they appear, the community of the followers of Baha'u'llah should satisfy themselves. And in the eyes of the world at large and in the sight of their vigilant master, they are the living witnesses of those truths. So it's one thing to talk the talk, but you got to walk the walk. If you can go to a meeting and you have this, let's say, a diverse group of people, and you go there because of whatever cause is, whatever purpose that meeting is for, and maybe it is for all this, but then you go back into your personal life and there's nothing in your personal life that seems to reflect this basic precept, then there's a problem.
That's right.
There's a problem. Okay. I know that was, again, my long-winded self, but I felt that needed to be pointed out.
As this problem, racial prejudice, in the inevitable course of events, grows in acuteness and complexity, and as the number of the faithful from both races multiplies, it will become increasingly evident that the future growth and prestige of the cause are bound to be influenced to a very considerable degree by the manner in which the adherents of the Baha'i faith carry out, first among themselves and in their relations with their fellow men, those high standards of interracial amity so widely proclaimed and so fearlessly exemplified to the American people by our master, Abdul Baha.
It's built into, it's woven into the fabric of the faith.
We cannot very well prosecute a teaching campaign successfully if we do not, in our home communities, demonstrate to the fullest extent our love for the people who spring from the African population. I'm going to read that whole section again.
Thank you.
We cannot very well prosecute a teaching campaign successfully if we do not, in our home communities, demonstrate to the fullest extent our love for the people who spring from the African population. The Friends should first start by applying the principle of the oneness of races within their own communities, and thus set before the world outside a noble and inspiring example. Every trace of racial prejudice should be banished by the Friends in their community life and also in their private life, so much so that they should come to gradually forget the very existence of the racial problem as such. Such an attitude is bound to strongly impress every outsider and draw his attention to the cause and convince him of the sublimity and practicability of its teachings.
Daryl, I got to stop you again, because as you're reading this, I'm thinking of the first fireside I ever went to. And the first fireside I ever went to, I've talked about it before, was at Kambiz and Farah's. And again, please do keep Kambiz in your prayers, Kambiz Rahani. But that was the first fireside I ever went to. And I knew it was regarding a religion. I knew it was regarding the Baha'i faith. I really wasn't in the faith at that time, or at least I wasn't an official member of the Baha'i faith. I was, just kind of, it was a nice little thing to go to, and I was interested in learning more. But one thing that hit me was the diversity in their home. And what stood out even more, it took me a while to think about it, is that visually it hit me. But what hit me later on was, that's not the main thing that seemed to matter. It was just the way it is.
Right.
It was so normal that, there I was sitting there noticing it, but it's like to them, nobody, I didn't dare point it out because I didn't want to be the one to say anything about it. But it's like, you people, hold it. You've got people from all walks of life, and you're here worshiping and talking about spiritual issues together. What is wrong with you?
All right.
I have since changed my viewpoint, obviously. And of course, I didn't think what's wrong with you. It was refreshing. I must say it was refreshing.
Sure.
Have we done this song recently?
Not recently.
Okay. Something happened yesterday that made me decide, well, Friday actually, that made me decide this be. Yeah, it was Friday. Sun is rising on a new day, shedding light across the land. The Father's showing us the right way to take His love to all of man. But some keep fighting, some keep killing, shedding blood around the world. But keep believing, keep on praying. One day God's kingdom will be unfurled. 'Cause all we want is peace high on every mountain. All we want is peace down in every valley. All we want is peace flowing like a river, may it never cease. All we want is peace. Hear the sounds of children crying. Hear the mothers and the fathers weep. See them bury their sons and daughters. See their pain that goes so deep. How'd we ever come to this place? We all know a better way. We can put a smile on God's face and start a brand new day, 'cause all we want is peace high on every mountain, peace down in every valley, flowing like a river, may it never cease. All we want is peace, red and yellow, brown, black and white, mother, father, sister, brother, rich and poor, captive and free. All we want is peace. All we want is peace. So for every Muslim, and every Christian, for every Jew in Zoroastrian, for every Buddhist, every Baha'i and Hindu, every child of God, there's a way that we can live as one. Take every rocket, every rifle, every weapon and melt them down, then build the plowshares to feed the hungry, till no more hunger can be found, 'cause all we want is peace high on every mountain, peace down in every valley, flowing like a river, may it never cease. All we want is peace. 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 Is that so much to ask for?
It is. It's a lot to
Apparently,
ask for.
apparently it is. Like
Excuse me.
I wish it were not. I don't remember where we were, man. I really like the way that song went. That had some life to it.
The Friends should first start in a
Okay,
poem.
okay.
No, it's down here. If we allow prejudice.
Oh,
Could you read?
sure. Here's a little warning.
I'm adjusting to new glasses here.
Okay. No need to brag about having new glasses,
Not
but okay.
bragging.
Here's a little kind of this is coming from the Universal House of Justice. If we allow prejudice of any kind to manifest itself in us, please listen to this, folks. If we allow prejudice of any kind to manifest itself in us, we shall be guilty before God of causing a setback to the progress and real growth of the faith of Baha'u'llah. It is incumbent upon every believer to endeavor with a fierce determination to eliminate this defect from his thoughts and acts with an S. We have a hand over here. Yes, Anini. And I know some of you out, well, because we have these particular types of mics in the Zoom, you probably won't be able to hear what she's saying. So we'll repeat what she says. Yes, Anini. Say that again. Nobody, she says, nobody thinks they're prejudiced. So what is prejudice? Oh, her question is, what is prejudice? I have an answer for you. It's not the only answer, but it's one of my favorite answers that defines prejudice. It's coming from, at least I read it in a book by Nate Rutstein, or Nathan Rutstein, I believe his name is. Source doesn't matter in this case. One of my favorite definitions of prejudice is an emotional commitment to ignorance. An emotional commitment to ignorance. Now think what that's saying. A lot of times we think of prejudice as hate and exclusion and so forth. Those are the result. Those are the outward signs of an emotional commitment to ignorance. I don't really know who you are, but based on that physical package you're in, whether it be about your clothes, whether it be about your skin color, your gender, whatever are the signs of your gender, maybe the accent in your voice, I'm going to assume I know some things about you. And unfortunately, in many cases, when it comes to prejudice, in most cases, the things I'm going to assume about you are negative, are bad. I'm going to make judgments about your character, your potential, your strengths, your weaknesses. I'm going to make a lot of judgments based on nothing. And I'm going to commit to that because I'm committing to my own ignorance. Yes.
And the answer to the question of what is prejudice is actually in the word itself. Prejudge.
Yes.
That's what prejudice does. You prejudge based on, whatever's in your head, that your association with whomever you come in contact with is going to be something that may be negative. So that is an emotional commitment to something that you don't even know anything about yet.
Yes.
That means people has religious background could be prejudiced.
Oh, most
Absolutely.
definitely. What she said is people that have a religious background could be
can be
prejudiced.
prejudiced, right.
Absolutely.
Strong religious.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. She's. I was just told to repeat. She said that it means that people who have a strong religious background can be prejudiced. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. And be religiously prejudiced. I mean, I'm holding on to this because this is what I believe God wants of me, and so forth and so on. But I like what it says in that last phrase of that sentence is, this defect, what it is incumbent upon every believer to endeavor with a fierce determination to eliminate this defect from his thoughts and acts. In other words, prejudice is a defect.
That's right.
It is a defect in your thoughts and in your actions. It is the duty of the institutions of the faith to inculcate this principle in the hearts of the friends through every means at their disposal, including summer schools, conferences, institutes, and study classes. And in that list, if you are not a Baha'i, you're a friend of the faith, those are some of the activities and things that are very common in the faith as people learn more about just how to be a good human, how to be a decent human being, and how to, maybe I should say, I shouldn't put it that way, how to apply the principles of the faith in their own life. Through every means at their disposal, including summer schools, conferences, institutes, and study classes. The next question: will it help solve racial prejudice to teach more African Americans? This is clearly a little bit later, but I'll just leave it at that. Will it help solve racial prejudice to teach more African Americans? Meaning, if we teach the faith to more African Americans. Here's the response from Shoghi Effendi. Let anyone who feels the urge among the participators in this crusade, which embraces all the races, all the republics, classes, and denominations of the entire Western Hemisphere, let anyone who meets that description arise and, circumstances permitting, direct in particular the attention and win eventually the unqualified adherence of the Negro, the Indian, the Eskimo, and Jewish races to his faith. These are obviously minorities in, you know, in the U.S.
And this is not an exclusive list.
Yeah, exactly. And he says in the entire Western Hemisphere, yes, no more laudable and meritorious service can be rendered the cause of God at the present hour than a successful effort to enhance the diversity, there's that word again, to enhance the diversity of the members of the American Baha'i community by swelling the ranks of the faith through the enrollments of the members of these races, a blending of these highly differentiated elements of the human race, harmoniously interwoven into the fabric of an all-embracing Baha'i fraternity and assimilated through the dynamic processes of a divinely appointed administrative order, and contributing each its share to the enrichment and glory of Baha'i community life, is surely an achievement, the contemplation of which must warm and thrill every Baha'i heart. I'm going to read a portion of that again and chop out a portion of it. A blending of those highly differentiated elements of, I just lost my place, a blending of these highly differentiated elements of the human race is surely an achievement, and the contemplation of which must warm and thrill every Baha'i heart. This is something that we're supposed to be constantly working towards. And I feel good in saying I personally know people who do that.
Yeah.
I personally know
So do
people
I.
who are constantly working towards that. And it is a major undertaking. It is not easy. People are set in their ways. People don't want to get out of their comfort zones that often,
Absolutely.
you know, and so forth and so on.
And it's going to take each of us getting outside of our comfort zone
Yes.
to pull this off.
And I'll say this,
It's not going to
Darryl.
happen any other way.
I'll say this. Every time I open the door and let you in. No, I'm very comfortable with Darryl. You should concentrate your efforts on teaching all you can. That's what we're doing. I don't know we're doing all we can, but you should concentrate your efforts on teaching all you can, particularly endeavoring to attract and confirm in the faith the Negroes, as the number of Negro Baha'is in the United States should be many times larger than it is at present. Now, this was written back in the 1930s,
Right.
but it's just as that's a difficult thing to do. I mean, I don't want to say difficult. It is challenging.
Right.
It is challenging because once again, you know, people are set in their ways, and there are other reasons. The attitude toward teaching the faith in the here we go. And I didn't say good morning, Renee. Good morning, Renee. The attitude.
Good morning. Good
to see
morning, my brothers. Good morning, all.
Good
Good
to see
morning.
you. The attitude toward teaching the faith in the southern United States should be entirely changed.
Go on.
The attitude toward teaching the faith in the southern United States should be entirely changed. For years, in the hope of attracting white people, in order to go easy with them and not offend their sensibilities, a compromise has been made in teaching work throughout the South. I'm going to read that again because this was written in 1937 or 38,
38.
and it's just as true today. The attitude toward teaching the faith in the southern United States should be entirely changed. For years, in the hope of attracting the white people, in order to go easy with them, and that's in quotes, in order to go easy with them and not offend their sensibilities, a compromise has been made in teaching work throughout the South. The results have been practically nil. The white people have not responded, worth mentioning, to the faith. And the colored people have been hurt and also have not responded. And we can see signs of this today. I will not get political, but let's face it, the rewriting of textbooks and things of that nature and the banning of certain books because of how it makes some people feel is the outcome of this very, it relates to this very statement. He being being Shoghi Effendi, the Guardian, he feels it is time that the Baha'is stop worrying entirely about the white element in a community and that they should concentrate on showing the Negro element that this is a faith which produces full equality and which loves and wants minorities. Also, the faith must be representative of the population. In a great many places in the South, the majority of the population is still Negro. This should be reflected in the Baha'i community fearlessly. Both the white Baha'is and the colored Baha'is must steadily work to attain this objective of bringing the faith to the colored people or confirming many of them in it. There is our charge. There is our, that's what we're supposed to be doing. No, what are you doing, man? I see what time it is. Yes. Let me mark this because I will forget where we are. That a lot to think about, and
it's where we'll take up next week. This section, by the way, is a fairly long section.
yeah,
So-
and it's 1938. It's 2023.
That's right.
And this could have been written yesterday or today.
Absolutely.
It just shows, it doesn't show, I mean, just in case we're giving the impression that that work is not being done, that is not the case. I personally know people who are working hard.
So do I.
And we're doing what we can in this particular, venue.
Right.
Yeah. But it just shows what a hard nut this is to crack.
It is.
Yeah. It shows what a hard nut this is to crack. Wow. Well, folks, it is that time. This is that time where anyone who would like to offer up a prayer or reading or even a song of your choosing, this is that time. And we always like to start with our Andy moment. However, Andy is not here today. We don't know where Andy is, but Andy, we hope everything's okay with you out there. And of course, I will still mention our Camby's moment, even though we can't have Camby's with us. I will again say, please, 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 please keep Camby's in your prayers.
Of
yes.
course.
Yes. So at this time, if there is anyone who would like to offer up a prayer or reading, this is that time.
Is there any remover of difficulties save God? Say, praised be God. He is God. All are his servants, and all abide by his bidding.
Mm-hmm. Daryl.
Okay, it looks like we've got a silent house today.
Yes.
So,
And we have time for, I think we can put in another song. You think we can put in another song?
sure, we can put in another song.
I think we can put in another song. I just hope I have this right. I wish Renee were here in the room with us because he actually sings this song. But because of the whole, what is it called? Anyway, in Zoom, it just doesn't work when someone is in another place and wants to perform with someone in a different place.
True.
Yeah. What's it called? What's the word? There's a word for it. Anyway. Oh Lord, my God, assist thy loved ones to be firm in thy faith, to walk in thy ways, to be steadfast in thy cause. Give them thy grace to withstand the onslaught of self and passion, to follow the light, to follow the light of divine guidance. Give them thy grace to follow the light, follow the light of divine guidance. Thou art the powerful, the gracious, the self-subsisting, the bestower, the compassionate, the almighty, the all-bountiful, the all-bountiful, the all-bountiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I'm glad I got Renee's seal of approval on that, because he
Absolutely
usually sings.
beautiful. Lovely.
Well, thank you, Vicky. Thank you. Renee's usually the one that sings it. We did that
Yeah,
at Feast one
okay.
night. Yeah,
But
actually,
you,
a couple of programs. Yeah.
but you know, the only way it comes out as something you like is because of the beautiful creation that is. And it's just very, very inspiring.
Well, thank you, Renee. And that's that. For anyone who doesn't know, we do need to point out that that is a prayer, word for word, a prayer by Abdul Baha. I should hold on to this. And we still got a few minutes left, and I think that it would be a good idea. Actually, we don't have a lot of time left, do we? We got about 5 minutes.
Right.
Okay.
I
Then
do.
we better just stick to the program the way we usually do it. I wanted to
So-
talk about the next book, but go ahead.
So this
forgot
is,
to-
just so you all know, that this is not just something that happens because Tony and I decided to do it. It happens because it is a collective effort from several communities. And mostly from the Clearwater Baha'i community, who allow us to use their platform and their website to help us get this going. And we'd like to thank all of those people who are part of the process.
Mhm.
So, but also, we'd like for you to know that if you have an interest in the faith, there are some definitive websites that you can go to get more definite information. And those websites are www.baha'i.org, www.baha'i.us, www.bahaiteachings.org. And if you happen to be in the Tampa Bay area, you don't really even have to be in the Tampa Bay or Clearwater area. You can always check out the Clearwater Baha'i website at www.clearwaterbaha'is.org.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea to also point out that if you'd like to know if there are Baha'is in your area, there's a way that you can find out. We mentioned that website, www.baha'i.us. They actually have a number that you can call or an email address that you can, well, you can just go to the website. Let's just say that. And if you wanted to find Baha'is in your area, they could actually let you know where there are some Baha'is that you could talk to personally. And I personally, no, I won't bore you with that story. It's just a little interesting story that I'll tell some other time because time's a wasting.
And before we go, I would like to say that if you are loved, you are truly blessed. If you can just take a moment to share that love with the world around you, I guarantee you that world is going to be blessed, and all of your activities will be blessed, and the world could actually become a better place to live. So we'd like to thank you all for joining us today.
I love you guys.
Thank you, Renee.
Share the love.
Yes.
People of justice, be as brilliant as the light and as splendid as the fire that blazed in the burning bush. The brightness of the fire of your love will no doubt fuse and unify the contending peoples and kindreds of the earth, whilst the fierceness of the flame of enmity and hatred cannot but result in strife and ruin. We beseech God that he may shield his creatures from the evil designs of his enemies. He verily hath power over all things. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Oh, oh. Be world embracing. We know we might have to click off before we're finished. Let your vision be world embracing. Be world embracing. Watch over yourselves, for the evil one is lying in wait, ready to entrap you. Gird yourselves against his wicked devices, and led by the light of the name of the all-seeing God, make your escape from the darkness that surrounded you. Let your vision be world-embracing, rather than confined to your own self. These are the words of Baha'u'llah. Be world embracing. Oh, 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 oh. Have a good week, folks. Thanks for that extra
Beautiful.
minute, Jeremiah.
Take care.
Beautiful job, folks, as usual.
Thank
I
you.
love
Thank you.